What are some of the things that have happened, in your life that you'll never forget, that you'll always remember? And they usually say that it is something that has a strong emotion tied to it. And if something in your life has happened that has a strong emotion, be it a positive or a negative, but a strong emotion, you usually remember it for a good long time. It's been like so many years. Decades when I think about this. But it's imprinted, it's ingrained, it's been maintained over time. So I went to 10th grade, and I remember that this was the time where, my parents, they had been divorced for a long time. And so my mom was trying something out, and she was just allowing my dad to take a hold of me for a little while and see what could happen. See if he could correct, some of my behavioral difficulties. How do I say? And I was a rambunctious little kid, hanging out with folks in the neighborhood, getting high, getting this, getting that, going there, going here, and really just being negatively influenced by the worst kind of gentlemen in my neighborhood. And so I flunked out of 10th grade. Lo and behold, you can't fail math class in high school and assume that you're going to pass your grade. So I flunked. And it was actually amazing to me because I didn't even think that I would flunk. I was like, what? I had never flunked a grade before, ever. But when they told me that I didn't pass 10th grade, I was surprised. I was shocked. My parents had a different reaction. My mom, she sent me to a boarding school in Calhoun, Tennessee called Advent Home. Since my mom is Seventh-day Adventist, they go to church on Saturdays, and they live a little bit differently than your traditional Christians. So this was a different kind of boarding school that I went to back there in Calhoun, Tennessee. And it was called Advent Home. And just for this story, I actually went and I looked this up. I looked up Advent Home, and you can't even find it today. Like the Advent Home Learning Center, it's got like 1 star on the review, and it's permanently closed. I wanted to find a picture just to show you what I'm talking about, and I couldn't find it. They won't even give it to me. They're like, this is permanently closed, it's shut down, it's gone, right? So that shows you that I must have gone to it during a time period where they were just experimenting. I was the guinea pig. I was the experiment. So it was an all-boys boarding school, no girls, not co-ed. It was just boys. And I was there for 11 months. Now, here was the one thing that was very interesting about this school, other than the staff who would restrain us from time to time, other than the point system where we had to be on our best behavior, and if we weren't, then we would be docked points and that we would have to stay there longer, and it actually cost the parents thousands and thousands of dollars to keep us in this school, right? To keep us in this school that was dressed up, but it was actually a correctional facility dressed up as a school, right? There was all vegan diet. So this was the first time ever in my entire life that no meat, no cheese. No meat, no cheese, only vegan. I said, what? I was like, wait, how do I survive? No meat, no cheese, no animals, right? I didn't even call it animals at the time. I didn't call them, I didn't call them cows. I called it beef, right? It was fried chicken. I wasn't eating birds. I was eating fried chicken. So no Popeyes, no KFC, no McDonald's, no Ryan's, no Golden Corral, no all-you-can-eat buffet. Just vegan all day. So there was tofu turkey on Thanksgiving. There was tofu eggs and sweet and sour tofu. That was the worst for me. I hated that, right? So all this tofu, everything. Vegan diet. And my body started to get adjusted to it. But I didn't know that my body had adjusted to it until the day that I finally left. After 11 months where, I mean, there's countless stories of just being in that boarding school that I could share with you. But after I left, I finally escaped. When I finally was released and they, you know, the bar slid to the side and they said, Jerome Shaw, you have a visitor. It's your time. It's your time to go. The first place I wanted to go to, guess where? Guess where the first place I went to when I left that boarding school was? Can you guess? The all-you-can-eat buffet. I said, I'm heading to Ryan's. Let's go to Ryan's. That's my treat right there. Let's go. If you've ever been to Golden Corral or Ryan's, you know what I'm talking about in the South. They got these all-you-can-eat buffets with all-you-can-eat whatever, as much as you can stack on a plate. You just put it, pack it all in, and then you just bring it to your table, and you can keep going back for seconds and thirds and fourths, and however much you can fit in your stomach and stretch your stomach, you can. There is no limit, right? So I packed my plate with all the stuff that I used to eat, all the macaroni and cheese and the hot dogs and the you know, the all the stuff, everything, right? The chicken, and then I had the hot sauce and the condiments and the ketchup and everything. And do you know, that night, I don't know how long I stayed in the restroom, but it had to be at least a half an hour to an hour in the restroom, in pain. I'm telling you, emotionally, that the agony is so linked to being in pain after being away from animal products, away from animal flesh for so long, living a vegan diet at that boarding school and thinking that I was being punished, right? Thinking that I was being punished just for being on a vegan diet. When I went to that buffet, I was in the bathroom for the rest of the day. Now, this taught me something. Years later, I can laugh and I can appreciate this years later, you know. But I didn't know what I didn't know. It was like my body was screaming. My body was like, what have you done? Has anybody ever seen this new movie? There's a movie that just came out, The Flash. And they have a character on there, Supergirl. And when she found out what had happened to Kal-El, she found out General Zod had eliminated Kal-El in his crib in this alternate reality before he even got off of Krypton. She said, "What did you do?" She got so angry, right? What did you do? That's what my body said to me. When I had been on a vegan diet for 11 months and I went back to animal products and animal flesh and I went back to all of, my body said, "What did you do?" And I stayed in that restroom for so long, hugging the toilet, wishing that I had not made that decision. But since I had reintroduced it back into my body, I just kept going, and gradually my body adjusted. And gradually my body adjusted. And slowly but surely it adjusted again. But it didn't trigger, it didn't compute, it didn't really register that I had already made the adjustment. The adjustment was already made. Until I started fasting, until I started doing things that were a little longer lasting, until I started asking the questions. I didn't see the blessings in these kinds of lessons. I didn't see my natural progression, right? That eating large quantities had become my profession. Once I reduced, and once I introduced more juice and more fluids, and I knew that I could do it, I went back and I took like a dab of hot sauce and I put it on my tongue. I literally could feel and I could taste every ingredient on the label. I was able to taste everything on the label. Never before had I ever been that sensitive in my life. Then when I stopped, it wasn't even what I started, it was what I stopped. It wasn't what I did, it's what I didn't do. So everything was backwards. It was just very interesting to see just how light I could feel and just how free that I could be. But hey, this is just between you and me, all right? Just a short story to let you know that sometimes you don't know how far you've come. Sometimes you don't know how far you've gone until you do something completely out of your norm, until your own body has taken on a new form, right? My organs had to literally move themselves around for the things that I was stuffing down my throat. But on another note, right? You can look back and you can laugh and you can realize that you were always up to the task. And the more that you continue, as they say, the more light shines within you. So continue to be a light, my friend. Continue to understand that the time, yes, your time, is always at hand. Blessings to you. Do all that you can.